put these names forward. So if anybody wants to put their names forward for either one of these three subgroups, or if you want to, you think of somebody who is really useful, that's got sufficient knowledge in a particular area that might benefit the Oakham Town interests, then please let me know and I will go through the process. I'm not actually certain how we're going to do this because we're supposed to agree amongst ourselves, that is the existing people on the advisory board, but nonetheless we'll pursue that with some zeal. So if you need further information, just speak to me after or speak to me and I'll send you an email with all the information. And there is a communication that was released to everybody, which you should all have a copy of now. So, is there any questions before I sit down?
Any questions for Councillor Ainsley? No? Thank you, Paul, for your report. Councillor Clough?
I think it might belong to 8.
8, oh right, anything. Anybody else? No? Okay. Right, at this point then, I'm going to move Standing Order 6A, and I'm going to move item 9 to just after deputations. Okay. So councillors' questions, anybody? On this item 6?
None.
Okay. So in that case then, deputations, members of the public are invited to address the meeting in accordance with the procedure laid down in Standing Order 1D to 1I. And at this point we will then be discussing item 9. If you'd like to, you have your 3 minutes, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elaine Peel, and the issue which we're bringing tonight, before it was one of road safety and parking, which is greatly worrying us, and many who live near us have prompted us to head up this action. My husband and I have been concerned with road safety for a long time. The Institute of Advanced Motorists, cycle proficiency of children, so it's something that we really involved in quite a lot. So I'll address the concerns we have, and Graham will address the possible solution. Just to refresh your memories, where are we? We live on the small Huntsman's Drive, which adjoins the Rutland Care Village, and which also is next door to the big campus. So that's the area that we're looking at. Our main concerns, which have grown particularly over the last 2 years, is an unsafe road situation promoted by the roads in that area being substantially blocked by parked cars. Mainly, but not exclusively, cars from the Harrington Sixth Form College. There's limited parking for the students on site, and that's led to the roads around the campus being used extensively. So the parking is turning our roads into actually one-lane roads, often blocked by traffic coming from 3 directions, from the small roundabout into Huntsman's Drive, from our estate that way, and from Rutland Care Village that way, with the campus there. So there's a lot of people, both drivers and pedestrians and young school children, who are have a potentially dangerous situation there. Because many cars are actually forced to travel along the wrong side of the road if one side of the road is actually blocked up. Hazard for pedestrians, the poor road situation is very near a zebra crossing, which is obviously used by the school children. There's a pathway, the old sort of Park Lane, which is coming from town, and the children walk along that too. And as they always are, they've got the mobile there, they've perhaps got the headphones on, and the top of the pathway leads out almost onto the sort of 3T junction, Huntsman's Drive, Prince George Avenue, and the road from the Care Village. So that's quite hazardous for children crossing over there, or anybody. We've got a raised buggy crossing, which is for families with buggies, but also for people using buggies because they can't walk. And that often is parked on, so that's a danger too. Many of the roads are actually almost right angle, so if you're on the wrong side travelling along, quite likely to meet somebody coming in the opposite direction, also on that same side. And then we've got car entry and exits to the campus, which sort of are approximately either side of the zebra crossing. And you've got cars travelling that area, going in, sometimes dropping and coming out. Large buses obviously bringing the students.
Your time is about up.
Sorry?
Your time is about up.
Right.
I'm afraid.
Just one mention of Rutland Care Village. Many ambulances have found they're being blocked, particularly at peak times, to get in. There's about 3 ambulances a day there. Many residents have dementia and severe disabilities. Not a good place for people to be looking for parking spaces and for overcrowded roads. And you have evidence of that in your pack.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your turn, sir.
Thank you. The proposed solutions. I should say that these proposals follow considerable consultation with the residents of our estate, which has 61 homes, and with the steering group we set up as part of a coordinated approach, which involved also Rutland Care Village. We've consulted our Borythorpe County councillors, Sue Webb and Dave Langsley, who agreed to support us, and Mrs. Joy Clough, our Oakham Town Council representative. We've also sought guidance from the Rutland County Council Parking Services Manager, Mr. James Vanderbilt Sunken. And we're now seeking this council's support for our proposals so that they can be taken to the County Council. We've spoken twice to the head of Harrington School, Mr. Harrison, to share with him the difficulties largely created by where his students park their cars and how, and the dangers caused by cars leaving the campus car park. He has responded by having 2 stop signs erected and a stop line drawn at the exit from the school car park. Our proposals to the parking problems don't include a policy of not on our front doorstep, and we're proposing a balanced solution with a degree of compromise. We want to create an orderly and limited amount of parking space in our area by using just a small section of Huntsman's Drive for a parking bay, and also by introducing a system of parking bays with dotted white lines at 3 different points along Prince George Avenue. Parking would then be limited to those allotted spaces between 10 and 4 Monday to Friday, apart from those residents who are granted parking permits. We've suggested enough space in the bays on Prince George Avenue and on Huntsman's Drive to accommodate a total of 10 cars when the parking restrictions apply. And this was a number originally suggested by the Parking Services Manager. We believe that this would help Harrington students while considerably improving road safety and parking arrangements in our neighbourhood. So we ask you to support the proposals we've put before you this evening and have set out in rather greater detail in the documents you have before you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Clough, your ward members, would you like to kick us off?
I was contacted by the Huntsman's Appeal and I've been to visit. I have made a point of going to Huntsman's Drive both by car and walking on any number of occasions to see for myself independently how the traffic works. And I have to admit that it is an issue. I think the core of the issue is that when the estate was designed, the road was not built to accommodate traffic going into a care home, a housing estate and a large college. But that's the road we've got and we have to deal with it. There is a serious pedestrian issue at the confluence of these junctions. I've been there and I've seen care workers taking people in wheelchairs for a little walk around the estate and trying to cross the road when there's been traffic coming, trying to come in both directions in a single lane. I have myself impeded the way of an ambulance trying to come out of the care village because I was going into Prince George's Avenue on the wrong side of the road because of parking. I think the solutions that are being offered are a bit more forward-thinking than the policy that was brought in for both Vicarage Park and for Edmonton Way. When the issues arose there, they simply put a blanket, no parking, permits only, on the whole estate, And they're trying to avoid doing that in this area by allowing some parking and some permanent parking, which means if you have visitors coming, there is somewhere to park, which is an issue if you go to visit people living at Vicarage Park. You go there, you can't park anywhere. There is going to be a certain amount of displacement with students from the college, but the headmaster has been talking about education. They're trying to educate their students not to come in cars unless they absolutely have to. People who have to come to college by car are allowed a parking space on site. The people who are parking in the road are people who don't justify a parking space, who therefore the college reckons are perfectly capable of arriving on foot or on bicycle. So there's no reason for them actually to be there. And if we're looking at pollution issues outside colleges, do we really want cars parking, you know, where the students are coming and going at all times? I would support this proposal. I think it's very carefully thought out. Also, it's been done with full consultation of the householders, the 61 houses in the estate, and they've had responses to 37 of them, which I think is a really good response. And they're all behind this proposal. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. Councillor Walters.
Thank you, Chairman. I have to say, unless someone says something dramatic, then I will fully support this request for us to support the residents. I don't think for 1 minute we'll stop people using their cars. They just will. We can educate them as much as we want, they'll still use them. My only request is that whoever comes to finally make a proposal, if it's in support, that when Rutland County Council do their formal consultation, they include the management and users of Catmus Sports, who, from what I've read, don't appear to have been spoken to at all.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Woodley.
Chair, Councillor Clapp talked about displacement, and obviously one of the causes for this whole thing has been identified on cars. Any idea where that's going to be to? So are we just moving it 50 yards down the road? And that was my primary concern. So do we have any input on that?
The headmaster himself comes from, I believe, Bourne, where they have an arrangement with the school and one of the local supermarkets, and students actually park in a supermarket car park during the day. And the question was raised whether, if this goes ahead and the students therefore can't park in the space, whether they might follow this policy by attempting to make a arrangement with Lidl, which is just over the road, standing on the pavement and talking to students coming out. I've stopped and said, are you going home? But you walk home? Quite a number of them said, no, we go to Lidl and our parents pick us up there. So maybe that an arrangement could be made that would be to the benefit of both. And maybe it needs the push of this being approved for the school to actually make that proposal to the supermarket. It is a thought. There is not anywhere else where these cars can reasonably go to within walking distance.
Other than, from my point of view, all they'll do is they'll just cross the roundabout and go and park on the other estates, which is what happens all the time.
Yeah.
From my point of view, I mean, I'm all in favour of this. It's not a problem. The only concern I have is the 3 or 4 parking bays that on the start of Huntsman's Drive make it very difficult for people to get into those first 2 cottages, because you've got to make nearly 180-degree turn, or you've got to go up and turn around and come in. So that is my only concern about this, is those first 2 cottages on the parking. You can come back in a minute before we have our vote. That's my view. So I'm now looking for a proposal. Yes, of course, can.
Just about the little thing, really. Whilst that sounds a good idea in principle, I'm not aware of any pedestrian crossing across there. So I'm just wondering how they might get it. Is there from Centenary Field across? Because that's the route they come.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
There's a pelican crossing near the old people's home.
Yeah.
Okay, so do I have a resolution, please, before I bring the gentleman back in? Alan, Walters?
Chairman, if I may, I would propose that we write to Rutland County Council supporting the request. If other members were minded, I would also ask that they consult with management and users of Catmas Sports. So I think we are in support of it, but I would not say that we are willing to make a financial contribution. This matter should have been dealt with when they designed that estate, and also when they allowed our investment.
I think that's the correct proposal. So do I have a seconder for that, Councillor Clough? Right, before we take the vote, would you like to say anything, sir, before we vote on this?
It was merely in response to the point you made yourself,
Yep.
actually. We had quite a close look at that particular area and felt that certainly 3, maybe 4, could park there without particularly fouling the entrance and exit.
Okay.
Some may debate and not agree with that, but we felt really it should be possible.
Okay, thank you.
When we walked the area with James, the parking services manager, he thought some cars could be put there without detriment, but that's their thinking. And then I think the other thing, the parking spaces within the campus grounds for students were set quite a long while back. It seems to several of us who've walked that, including one of the service managers from the care village, that there actually is quite a lot of space within that car park. The numbers were set, I think, by Rutland County Council of how many spaces the sixth form could have. And Councillor Blanksby said he thought it would be very fair to bring that number back to the planning and see if that number could be changed so there could be an easement of a few more spaces actually within the car park, which would help some displacement.
Well, we'll do, I mean, that is another issue, so we'll deal with this. So I have a proposal that we support and that we consult with the leisure users and managers, and we do not make a financial contribution. So that's been proposed by Councillor Walters. Do I have a seconder? It was Councillor Clough. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous, thank you.
Right.
And if you wait a moment,
I'll
we're
sign
going
this
to
for
sign
you.
the form for you,
So
and you
you-
can take it away.
Yeah, so you can take it tomorrow
Super efficient.
because it needs to be in by the end of August. You know that, don't you? It has to be in by the end of August.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes. And I'll put note of the financial.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Do I need to sign it? Sign it.
Yeah, I've signed it.
Jolly good, right. So we'll now go back, we'll just let Alison sort this out. We'll go back to
On the table.
item 7.
This needs to be by the end of
I think that was while we're waiting. We've had some of these come in before that have been a bit wishy-washy. And I think this was a very, very well prepared document, and I think you did. Your congratulations from us on producing a good paper. Thank you. Right, item 7 then is the clerk's report.
Just a few things. One is I had a meeting on Monday with the Christmas decorators. Just that I believe that it's going to have one with you as well, Councillor Buxton. I've started for the stress testing of all the lamp posts, arranged a company for that, and all our safety checks of all the electrical stuff and the anchor bolts. Work at Cuts Close, refurbishment of the shelter is now taking place this week. Will probably have to come back. This will have to come back to council if members so wish. We've now lost 4 goalposts. 1 was stolen and 3 have been damaged. Our contractor did try and fix one for us. I think there might be actually 2 back up at Royce's.
No, there's only one.
Oh, there is only one, right, okay. So that might be something that you want to think about in the future. And also, we're not going to be having another meeting in August, but the office will be closed on Monday the 26th of August due to a bank holiday.
Item 8 is working groups. Councillor Clough, you got one for this one?
The neighbourhood plan had a steering group meeting based to talk about the Regulation 14 consultation. They are now preparing the Regulation 16 submission, and I believe the chairman has been in touch with the clerk to arrange a meeting with the town council. What happens next is that when this is approved by the steering groups, the Regulation 16 submission will be passed to Oakham Town Council for it to approve with the accompanying documentation, and we would then pass it to Rutland County Council. So it's just to forewarn you that if we're going to debate this final version, it may be we have a separate meeting, but you will be hearing from Mr. Clark on that.
Wasn't just bear with me, wasn't we going to do that at the beginning of on that September meeting?
Yeah, we can do.
No, we can't because
We can't because we're doing this now.
Right,
So.
we'll have to come back to the September meeting in a minute, because the original idea, and you mentioned it just was that we were going to start early, do it the hour before we had the council meeting, to save everybody coming out twice. So I might have to call an extraordinary to deal with that, if that's okay. I just wanted to let members know where we were up to. Sorry, Councillor Cooke, for interrupting you. Carry on.
I think that's fine.
Oh, right, well, thank you. So we'll deal with that. We'll have to have an extraordinary meeting to deal with that one then.
Just a pre-warning.
Any other working groups? Okay then. So we'll go on to item 10, extended accounts. We've got two lots. So we've got the accounts that were deferred from the June meeting. Councillor Walsh, do you want to say anything on that particular issue?
Only briefly, Chairman, you rightly say the accounts were deferred, as we couldn't really approve the accounts and the payments when we knew that there was an unauthorised payment on there. The monies were refunded in full shortly after our last meeting. So unless there is any new business, I'd recommend that we approve these accounts.
Councillor Woodley, seconded. Seconded the June accounts. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. And may I thank, on behalf of the Council, Councillor Walters and the clerk for dealing with that so promptly and getting that issue out of the way. Thank you very much. So we'll go on to the July statement of accounts. Anybody want any comments? Councillor Walters, do you want to go first, being Chair of Finance?
If you don't mind, Chairman, I think I have to leave soon. Just a note that yes, the £668 does appear quite rightly in these accounts as a reimbursement. However, it is worth noting that we have not yet discovered exactly why the money was taken. So it's fine that it's been recovered, but in consultation with the clerk, if we don't hear anything by the end of this week, or at least confirmation that the company involved actually received the monies, then there still remains the question as to where those monies have gone. So we're fine, but it still could be fraud. So we are minded to make contact with the police Friday or Monday if we have not heard from them. The only other thing to mention is that there's a payment on here to Plantscape, and Councillor Clough brought to my attention the fact that when we looked at the original quotation, then an amendment, then another amendment, and then the invoice that came in, the invoice was actually different to the figure that it should have been. So the amount that has been paid out is correct in the sense that it matches the invoice, however there is a query on the invoice. So subject to anyone else's comments, my recommendation would be that we approve the accounts subject to us writing to Plantscape requesting a credit invoice to that value, which is I think £24. Yes.
Thank you.
That was it.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Woodley?
Yeah, it's just some clarification on the two payments to Oakham and Sons Derby for fire extinguishers at the Oakham Community Centre and then fire extinguisher remedial work. I'm trying to understand which bits are in liability for the council and which should have been the leasing. So I just would like some clarification on stuff.
We hadn't done them for years at all. So I had them checked, and they were very, very, very out of date. Moving forward, it will be down to the tenant, but it was our responsibility when we had the building and they were never done, or for a number of years.
Well, I mean, I query the fact that any fire regulation would be down to the leasing of the building. So I'm just concerned why we've...
I think what the clerk is trying to say is that because they weren't up to standard before she took the lease.
That isn't the case. The
I'd have to check the lease.
defines
Have to check the lease.
and their use,
Yeah.
i.e. how they're using that building, what the requirements are for the fire safety.
Can you leave that with the clerk? The clerk will make some inquiries and email you back, and if necessary, we'll bring it back to the next.
Yeah, I'm not
to next
querying the amounts or anything, because I think that's fresh. I'm just concerned.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So we have a proposal on the table from Councillor Walters. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Denyer. All those in favour to accept these accounts, please show. That's unanimous. Thank you. Item 11, Personal Advice and Solutions Limited, to authorise continuation of the current arrangement for 6 months at a cost of £100 per month. Alison,
It's as it says really. It's incredibly good value for money. He's very efficient. I mean, did you want to say anything, Adam, on staffing?
It just dawned on me that fact, haven't we asked Personal Advice Solutions to review our volunteer policy?
And he's come back to me already.
So that gives a demonstration of the sort of thing we use him for. Yeah. So, and also on any ongoing HR issues, we tend to lean on this chap.
Yeah, he's very good.
So as a professional advice, and he does other councils, so he's in that.
And that rate he charged, that's been for the last 3 or 4 years.
Councillor Woodley.
My only query is, it seems such good value and we do utilise it. Why only do 6 months? Should we not?
Because
give you that assurance.
Yeah, I mean we could do. It's just that we've always
a proposal to staffing and to the club.
Yeah, we can do it. Just that he always just invoices us every 6 months and then I bring it back.
I mean, if
you're happy for it to
if you want to move, we do it for contract for a year.
Well, I would actually defer to staffing, but if they believe it's the right thing to do, I
think it is the right.
I'm thinking that 6 months will take us up to the next financial year. It could be that HR Advice Solutions he's had that same price for 5 years?
Yeah.
So maybe if we take it up to the 6 months, but then say when he next applies, we would consider a 12-month period. If he keeps it £100 for 12 months.
Are we happy with that? So, do I have a proposal that we accept the?
Yeah. I propose it for 6 months up until the end of the financial year. Yeah.
Councillor Buxton is seconded. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. Thank you. Item 12. Correspondence from the trustees of Victoria Hall, Appendix D, to consider the request and decide whether or not the Town Council is willing to make a financial contribution, to authorise any expenditure and to make any decision as appropriate. And before we kick this off, anybody, if you wish to discuss the lease, we will have to move into closed session. So any reference to the lease, I will stop you.
Sorry, Chair. It'll need to be a closed session because I think it does refer to the lease and my points will reference that. So.
Okay. Do you understand in order 6 then? I'll move that to the end if that's okay with everybody, and we'll deal with this when we've dealt with the rest of the agenda. We'll come back to this one.
Thank you very much.
So I'll come back to that one. 13 is Cuts Close Shelter, Appendix E, E1, E2, to consider a report and make any decisions as appropriate. Councillor Lowe, you've been very busy.
Well, not overly so actually. I've been dawdling, if I'm honest. I think it's on the back of something that Councillor Rezal sort of said, that could I sort of look into how we could better utilise this area. And I'm conscious of the fact, Chairman, that we had the planning and parks, so we sort of set up a working group to do with the parks and areas, and this does very closely tie in with that. And the only thing was, this paper is to gauge I would say that there's an interest or enthusiasm that councillors as a whole, or the council as a whole, do want to demolish that building and put a more upbeat modern building. I wouldn't demolish it and get rid of it, because as it says in the paper, it was erected in 1935 as a Jubilee shelter. I just think it could be more than what it is. I could go away and get more work if the council feels it's appropriate, or if it is sort of agreed that we do go down this route and it is aligned with the previous paper from the planning meeting last month, that we've formed a working group, but we haven't actually put anybody on it yet. So I wouldn't want this to stagnate along with the other planning or the other parks and issues, because we've got a working group with no people. It makes it hard work to generate anything out of it, doesn't it? So if the council feel it's a good thing to go forward with, then brilliant. If they want to push it over to that working group, then brilliant. But then we need to get that working group populated and some work done, because otherwise it's just going to stagnate, because this sort of project will take 2 years. Thank you.
Anybody else want to comment? Councillor Clubb?
I think it would fit well with the other projects, and we should go to a working group, and we should get that working group moving. The only thing I would say about this particular project is that we're looking at sewerage and drainage, and permission for excavation for sewerage would have to be sought from the schedule that monument have a schedule of monument consent, and it would take time and probably involve with expense in archaeological investigation. And I think it would make sense, even if we're not, before we start looking at spending money on designing anything, to actually find out from historic England whether this would be an acceptable thing to do, because it's no good spending money on designing a building and then finding that we can't put drains in without spending a huge amount of money, which is beyond what we think is worthwhile.
Yep.
So when it does come to the point of starting, we should start with the permissions for doing it.
Fair enough. Councillor Woodley?
I extend both of those options if possible. I think we should go to a working group, and preferably the parks and planning, with some motivation to deliver. But I would also like to put in the thought process that we probably need to get some budget early doors for recommendations, getting these permissions sought, so that we're not hampered straight away by we need to go and spend some money putting requests in with people. So I think if we do want to move on this seriously, we acknowledge it takes time and it's going to need outside experts, and we should allocate some budget, if at all appropriate, to allow the working group to start moving forward rather than keep stopping at the first hurdle. So I would propose a working budget of £2,000 as a figure plucked out of the air, so that the working group has some money to start engaging the relevant people to deliver on what I think is an excellent proposal.
Well, the problem that we have, that obviously at the planning meeting, it was proposed that we have a working group, and as Councillor Lowe's pointed out, nothing actually moved forward. So we're now not going to have another meeting now until September, so it'll be another month gone. Now, I agree that I think we do need to move this forward, but it still needs to tie in with the planning. So I'm wondering whether we could give Councillor Lowe permission to go away and make some more further inquiries about the drainage and with English heritage and archaeology and all that we need to do, so we keep it going, ready, because we're only looking at the strategy of the park from the Parks and Planning. So the building's still going to need to be there in some guise at some point, isn't it? So, and I think if we can keep it rolling, Councillor Walters.
Thank you, Chairman. I take your point entirely. However, I do think it's the role of full council to appoint people to that working party.
Okay, well,
and I feel no hesitation in saying we should do that here and now.
I mean, I'm happy to do that, but obviously because it was set up by Councillor Rosella and the planning, for me to do that means I'm taking over his, and I don't particularly want to do that because I don't think that's right from the Gem. But if the members feel that they want to make nominations for that working group.
So to maybe help it, if you don't want to talk about, I think what Joy said is a very key point, and the clerk, on behalf, can do this with the council. She can contact Historic England, because sending communications to Historic England, I don't think will cost money, to find out if this would cost anything. And if it does, because I'm ahead of myself, if it does, it's been a long day, then the clerk has delegated powers to spend X amount of £1,000, and I think that would fit in with what Nick said as well. So I would suggest that certainly because it sounds like everyone's interested in this, that the clerk is asked to inquire with Historic England, because that's not council doing it. B, she has delegated authority to spend X amount of £1,000 if it costs some money to get that information. And because it's probably going to take about a month to get that sorted, this will be coming back to us in when's Ian's going to be back on at the back end of September, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, that's only 4 weeks away. It probably takes 4 or 5 weeks. So we could then hit that. One of the things on the agenda for Councillor Rozelle is to get that working group formed, because I've got a real funny feeling that Councillor Rozelle, with his enthusiasm, will want to be on that as chairman of planning and give that opportunity. So by doing it that way, we're getting the ball rolling. We can appoint the group in September, and we have money in that. That's my thoughts.
Any comments on Councillor Clough?
I would be prepared to volunteer to work for the clerk on contacting Historic England.
Yeah.
Have a little experience and a little backup in that direction as well, but might advise on how it goes about it.
Okay, so the proposal is that we move forward with this and to see if we can get the permission from Historic England, and we authorise the clerk to do that work, and we authorise Councillor Clough to liaise with the clerk on this issue.
And we align the paper with
and then and we make sure that working group is on the paper on the next planning paper.
Is that the proposal?
That's the proposal.
I'll second that.
All those in favour? Show. 9. Councillor Wall, you're up. Councillor Walton's abstained. And we'll get that. You okay with that? Okay.
I think everyone can hang on to onto their reports. That big thing that was printed, hang on to those, because we don't want to keep printing that. The park report.
Yeah.
Item 14 is Princess Avenue Garages, Appendix F. Councillor Ainsley.
Hopefully read a bit before the proposal. Essentially, this comes off the back of a meeting I had with Andrew Edwards, the property services, who unfortunately is leaving, but there will obviously be a replacement. I think the point I'd like to make is that what's really important here is that RCC are very keen to engage with us regarding the dealing with those garages, and I've spoken to both Gordon Brown, Helen Briggs and a few others, and they all said yes, it's certainly, I hesitate to use the words, but a thorn in our side, and it's something we really welcome working with OTC on this. And the second point I'd really like to make is that this really would be blue sky thinking. So there's lots of possible options, I think, from the sublime, which is sort of let's knock them down and build a car park, to something slightly more exotic, like building perhaps a 2-story building and putting OTC in the top floor and the dance studio underneath, etc., all that kind of thing. But none of these are suggestions that this council is being asked to do. What we're asked to do is to nominate or to get volunteers for individuals to go forward and work with RCC to bring back to council some proposals for subsequent approval. So that's really where we're at. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody have any comments? Councillor Jones. No, I couldn't make a mind when you were putting your hand up here.
Yeah, no, it's just wait, you have to think. The garages is a really awkward space, long and thin. But if we are going to be doing something with the pavilion in the That's Close, which we use as a dumping ground for all sorts of things, and we're going to use it for something much more user-friendly, we're going to need another dumping ground for all our bits and pieces. And maybe when you're looking at blue sky thinking, maybe a building on that part of it that could incorporate storage and office space is something else that could be added into the mix.
Yeah, I think that mix is quite large, and I think as long as we're creative and try to address as many issues as possible, then I think, I mean, I won't go into other ideas that have been floated, but there have been a significant number of ideas floated. So I'll make a note of that.
Okay, Councillor Woodley?
Councillor Ainsley. What I'm slightly confused on is that there is a two-stage process. One is agreeing to take over the garages from RCC.
Or what remains of the garages.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. What I'm slightly confused on is why there's such almost like a tight dependency on what we choose to do with that land. Are they not two separate transactions as far as RCC is concerned, or are you not aware of that? So do you think you'll be able to negotiate a price? I'm just slightly concerned if we went with a proposal for something that could be a money maker, then the price that the RCC would be obliged to charge for that property would change. So I'm just asking your thoughts if you've had any.
I haven't thoughts. I'll ignore that insult.
I'm sure you know it wasn't meant to be.
I think if you look at the state of the garages and how fragile they are, and the fact we've got some potentially hazardous materials in the middle of asbestos, RCC are fully aware of their obligations regarding what are essentially derelict buildings. And if we went in there and did a Brexit and gave everything away before we actually started negotiations, that might well be an unwise entrance. So I feel that I take on board exactly what you're saying, is that we have to be careful how these negotiations are held. And I think it's just a case of being astute.
Oh, Councillor Walters.
I think, Chairman, that Councillor Lowe might remember something like 10 years ago we were looking at this area, and I understand absolutely why it's that way too. I think it's surprising what you can fit in a small space. If you look at, I believe it's called the Catkins down below.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That was where some garages were, where my dad's garage was, and possibly Councillor Lowe might have had some there as well.
Everyone in Chester.
Yeah, so it's important that we do leave all options open, and that we do take on board, and I'm careful here not to wear two hats. Like the County Council, they have access to some funding that we might not from Homes England, dare I say one public estate, because it's sharing land and training. So I'm all in support of Councillor Ainsley's proposal. I'm not sure he's got to volunteer for it.
Yeah, I think that's my primary concern. What we don't want is to try and sort of stagnate. So I think we want people who are on board with the blue sky thinking and are willing to sort of see how we go along, really, see what we can get out of it all.
I'm taking my, I will ask a question first of all. On your first proposal to establish a small working group to blue sky thinking with RCC Property Service to examine the possibility development of the options of the site, are you looking at them to help develop the whole site or just the garages? Because that doesn't actually specify there, does it?
Whatever comes out of blue sky thinking. I wouldn't want to limit, and I certainly wouldn't want to constrain the discussion.
So we could end up, in theory, we could end up giving them our property as opposed to them giving us their garages.
If that's what...
I'm just putting it out there. Yeah, okay.
That's something that crossed my mind. My mind was slightly more positive than that. Yeah.
Councillor Clough, sorry.
Yeah, that's the dark side.
Yeah. Councillor Clough?
Can I propose Councillor Ainsley to head up this working group?
Yep. So the recommendation is to form a working group consisting of 2 members of the North West Ward and 2 other members of Oakham Town Council, 4 in all. So that's a proposal. Let's move that one first, then we'll come to the members. So, proposed by Councillor Clough, seconded by Councillor Walters. All those in favour, please show. Unanimous, thank you. Okay, members for the working group then, please.
Could I propose Paul Hudson?
Paul. And Paul.
So, Paul will be on it, isn't he?
Sorry, what was that?
So we've got yourself and Paul. So put the 2 Pauls.
We'll do it on mass. We'll do it on mass.
Yeah, do a mass, yeah. Just trying to get
It doesn't have to be 4, by the way. That was just...
yeah,
just
4 is usually a nice number. Too many gets a bit complicated.
We might want 3, just so we can actually get over the...
Yeah, oh yeah,
split
yeah.
both thing. Well, that's never happened, has it?
And I'd
want to sit back on this one at the moment. I fully support it, but I'm just looking at how much work I've got on. I'm just thinking that 4 people's a lot of people. Sorry, 4 people's a lot. I know Paul's very proactive. I know that Paul is very proactive as well. So I'd have thought you probably only need a third anyway, because at the moment it's still at that. It is at that
The
level.
little state, yeah.
And then
Yeah,
it's more
we can
exploration.
expand.
And this is all basically all we're doing is getting the council, giving permission for whoever councillors go on it to go into more detailed talks.
Yeah.
And 2 councillors or 3 councillors is better than 1. So, but if there's anybody else that's up for it, yeah, we'll go on.
Great stuff. So are we going to stick at 3?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
so
sorry.
we've got the proposals for Councillor Ainsley, Councillor Buxton and Councillor Lomas. Proposed by
Proposed by
Councillor
Verity.
Clough and seconded by Councillor Denyer. All those in favour? That's unanimous, thank you very much.
Can I just respect suggest that you change the name after Paul?
Right, item 15, Rutland County Council Conduct Committee to appoint 1 member as a representative to serve on Rutland County Council's Conduct Committee. Members to note there is an informal face-to-face interview for all shortlisted applicants before the final representations are selected and recommendations to council come up. Councillor Woodley.
Just pointing out, I have to stand out of this because it's I'm already on it for RCC.
Oh right, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Volunteers?
Sorry, I've lost the plot, I'm sorry.
Item 15,
Thank you.
the County Council Conduct Committee, we need a
Oh, yes.
volunteer. Councillor Denyer? Councillor Denyer is volunteering. Do I have a second of Councillor? Oh, proposed and seconded by Councillor Buxton, Councillor Woodley. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. Jean, you're it.
Well, if they
Perhaps
accept
not
it.
after the interview.
I'm looking forward to that, Dean.
Yes, I would have been Tai Chi.
What was about that? What was about?
Unanimous. Oh, I've got it down as unanimous, is that right?
Because Nick would have abstained.
Oh, yeah,
Nick
so,
abstained,
yeah, so
Yeah,
that's great. Thank you.
Nick,
No.
do you want that minute that you abstained as well?
No, I just wanted to
You sure?
Yeah, it's fine.
open and transparent with
Yeah, okay. Right.
our members.
Item 16, representations on other organisations, paper G. So, we need a volunteer for the Citizens Advice, the Trustees, 2 for that, 1 or 2, Parish Forum, the Rutland House Community Trust, Rutland Access Group and United Charities, 2 for that.
I'm on the Rutland House Community Trust. Is there
Well-
do you want another person?
No. Well, no. Sorry.
Chairman, yes, what it is, last year, when we came up for this in May, is that Jean had been
Yeah.
the representative last year, and the opportunity for her to put her hand up in May got overlooked. So I'd propose that if nobody else is up for it, I'd propose that Jean stays on there, if that was all right. And that's one of the things I'd said when I was moving through that chair, is that on these things, if people don't want to move on, that giving consistency over a 4-year term actually helps the organisations that sometimes we work with. Certainly when you're on things like Rutland House Community Trust and etc. So on saying that, I might contradict myself in a minute.
Are you happy with that, Jean?
Yes, yeah.
I'm going to do all these en bloc and
Yeah.
unless anybody
Yeah.
at the end.
Rutland House.
So, Citizens Advice.
Oh,
I think Paul was.
Sorry, did you want to say something? Which Paul?
Councillor Buxton had nominated Jean.
Oh, I see. I thought we're going to go at the end.
No, we're just taking nominations at the moment. Then we'll vote at the end. So, did you want
I'm going to nominate Councillor Ainsley, Chairman.
Councillor Ainsley for the Citizens Advice? Okay. Are you happy to let Paul do that?
I'd like to do it, but
Oh,
if
we're
Paul,
up, we haven't
if
voted
Paul's
on that,
voted, then that's fine.
No, we haven't voted. He's just.
Oh, okay.
No, we'll have a vote on those 2 in a minute. Trustees of Victoria Hall.
I'd like to propose Councillor Ainsley, because
Oh, hang on a second.
I thought you were showing an interest in it.
I was definitely, but
Councillor
I might
Woodley?
propose Nick Woodley actually.
Well, we can have 2, so we can.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll come back to these. Parish Forum. Anybody on the parish forum?
I think we all attend that.
I was just going to ask a question. Yeah,
Sorry.
yes. Given that all councillors are invited to attend that, is there a particular reason for having a nominated person? Is it
Well,
only
there's
report back,
two,
or-
Alan.
There's a reason.
There's a reason, yeah.
I believe that I think it's like when they are setting their agendas or something, it enables the town council to have
Yeah.
somebody that gives input. I've never seen it happen though.
Right.
So,
So, Chairman, are you referring to the parish council working group, which sets the agenda for the parish forum?
It just says parish forum here,
Yes.
so I can only
Yeah.
go on what's on the paper.
Shall we get clarity on that?
Shall we defer that one and we'll bring that one back?
No, the working group, I think, is already... I had this conversation with Kit.
I thought we put somebody on the working group.
So,
No, it was Peter Eind.
Chairman, it is one town councillor, so if anyone got in first, it won't be us.
Yeah.
We'll find out. We'll
Yeah,
find
that's
out. We'll
okay.
bring that one back,
Okay.
please, if we can. So Rutland Access Group, Councillor Woody.
I was going to propose G, but
And I would have loved to have done it, and I was down last year, and that was the reason why, when this started out this time, I made the point that very little information, because that was a group I wanted to do. But having put on it, it only ever meets on a Wednesday, and I work, so I couldn't do it. And that was why I brought it up, because I didn't want someone not to know that. It's the only day they ever meet. So if you're going to go on it, you've got to be free on a Wednesday.
Anybody?
Between 10:30 and
Yeah.
12.
Yeah, it's an interesting group.
Yeah, I struggle with it. So.
Yeah.
Paul? Buxton? Councillor Buxton?
Do you want to have access into this one?
Not really, to be honest with you. I've got some other commitments.
Yeah.
Do you want to bring that one back next month and see if we can cajole one of the council volunteers?
Chairman, it's something which I have a strong interest. My only concern is on the portfolio holder for adults social care.
No.
I think that might be a conflict.
Yeah.
You're waiting. Are you wanting to do it?
It's only 4 times a year they meet, so what am I doing for that?
Councillor Buxton? I'll be right to see.
We want lots of access in Rutland.
And United Charities, 2 members for that, please. Meet on
They meet
once a year.
Total waste of time.
Gene,
on
you can't say that in a public meeting.
I sent 4 emails during the course of the year for information about it, went online. First 2 emails got no response at all. The second one I was told, the third one I was told that somebody was on holiday. The 4th email was to tell me that the meeting was about 2 days later. The meetings last about, less than an hour. I've got very little money, and I really don't quite know. I think it's a thing on the paper. So I didn't have a good time with
Councillor
They do
Buxton's
that.
volunteer, I think, because it sounded such a heavy workload.
I have had students who actually...
yeah, so the money's dwindling.
Okay, so the only one we need to vote on then is for the Citizens Advice Bureau, and we've got Paul and Jean.
What about this? So what about this one?
Joy's going on that one.
Oh, Joy.
Yes,
Sorry, Joy.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we were
Okay.
in a bit of fragility there.
Yeah, she's.
Should we vote on all the others first and then come back to the 5?
Okay, yes, so trustees for the Victoria Hall is Councillor Ainsley, Councillor Woodley.
are you staying on there, Adam?
No.
The
Just let me down.
Rutland Community Trust is Jean, Councillor Denia. Rutland Access is Councillor Buxton, and United Charities is Councillor Clough.
They've all been proposed.
All been proposed, seconded by
Sorry, Mr. Citizen's Advice.
Citizens Advice is...
We're
No, we're going to vote on that one in a
We're
minute.
going to do that
Oh,
separately.
separately,
Yes,
okay.
vote, yeah.
So I'll second those nominations, those proposals.
That's seconded. All those in favour of
So
those...
who's nominated? Who's proposed them?
They've all they were being proposed
Oh,
as we
right,
went, weren't they?
right.
So you put their own names down.
That's
as well.
unanimous on those. Have you got? I've got one written here.
Yeah.
So then we come back to Citizens Advice. So just a clear show of hands, I think. All those in favour of Councillor Ainsley, please show. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For Councillor Denia. I put it on the spot. 1, 2, 3, 4. So Councillor Ainsley, you are nominated.
One.
You've won. I'll get you a bump. Should you go sick any
I thought, yeah, no, I just, I didn't know
time?
whether we were just going to do, instead of doing all the separate names, that you were going to do a proposal for them all.
Oh, no, because they all propose themselves.
Yeah.
I'll propose them all. I'll probably do that. And I'll be seconding them all.
Yeah, that's fine.
That could be definitely.
Right, item 17, appendix H, is Town Council's floor planter in Giles Street. Councillor Clough, is this yours?
Yes. It's a large floor plan, so it was just paid for by the Town Council. The background's in there. It was done because the current clerk's mother was a member of the Friends Society of Friends, and she planted it all up. She's long since gone. The Society of Friends is supposed to plant it up. It hasn't been planted up in the last year. For the Oakham in Bloom visitation, I rushed around, got some plants and stuff in quick. But I think we need to have a long-term solution to it. Part of this is because Rutland County Council is now licensing all things on pavements, which means we will have to have it licensed, which means there's quite a controversy about this at the moment. We're still waiting to see what's going to happen. It seemed to me that as all the other large planters are all done by Oakham in Bloom. I talked to Paul about it, and I talked to Nick Oswald, floor group. The most logical solution would be really to talk to the Society of Friends, and then to offer it, to ask Oakham and Bloom if they would be prepared to accept it. And then they would plant it up and it would get done and it would be licensed by them and it would be out of our hands.
Okay, thank you. Anybody? Councillor Lowe?
I was just going to propose 3 as on here, because in fact what you said there,
Yeah.
that the town council approach Oakham in Bloom and basically gift it as a container. So
I'll split it like this.
yes, yes. Would you like this red herring?
So that's been proposed. Anybody else want to make a comment on it?
Only that what do it's a church, isn't it? What do they actually say about not doing it or wanting it, or because it doesn't really say whether you've contacted them?
I didn't contact them because I thought it was, we should make a decision what we thought we should do with it. It's our planter after all, and then go to them and be tactful when we've made a decision. But they obviously have nobody at the moment who is dealing with it. It's not watered. It's not as it stands at the moment. The lady in the office is rushing out and watering it every day, and Tesco's gave us some plants and we put them in. So it's looking quite nice, but it needs to be pulled into line and it needs somebody to do it. And either one of us volunteer for it.
Who actually bought the planter originally?
We did.
Oh, we did.
We own
it.
So did we give it them?
No, this is what we're looking at there now. We want to gift it now.
No.
To Oakham in Bloom.
But did we buy the planter for the pilgrims?
No, we bought it for the town.
We bought it for
But
the town.
Mrs. White said she would plant it for us.
So Mrs. White needed the waters there in the nicest possible way.
Yes.
Let Joyce sit down first. Councillor Buxton.
I was going to say now, sorry. Does it have it has the same status as all the other ground planters, does it, in the town? I mean, they don't have any sort of ownership over it or any understanding that they'll look after it. It's basically our planter.
Yes, it's our planter, and yes, a number of years ago there was an agreement that the church would, the Society of Friends would plant it.
Yeah, but it's just a verbal agreement, I
Yes.
think, is it?
Yes, as far as I'm aware, yes.
So we either want it looking good or,
Okay, well we have a proposal that the Oakham Town Council ask Oakham in Bloom if they would allow the council to gift them the container, in which case it would include in their licence and would oversee the twice yearly planting and maintenance. Second Sorry, did you say Councillor Ainsley?
Sorry, yeah, no. My question really was who would action this? Would that be Joy or would it
Be the office.
the office?
Mr. Clark, yes, Clark. Councillor Woodley?
I just want to extend the proposal that if this is subject to there not being confusion from the Society of Friends that they thought they were doing it and they just had a problem. So if they are willing to take it on, we need to have an answer to that. And also, if Oakham in Bloom decide that they don't want it gifted,
But it'll come back again.
okay, so that's what we're going to propose. That it doesn't just hang in limbo.
No.
So
But basically, the clerk will write to the Society of Friends and tell them what's happening and see what they say. Depending on what they say, we'll then gift it to Oakham in Bloom, and if neither of them happen, then it'll come back again. Is that everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
So that's the proposal. So I have a seconder. Councillor Clough. All those in favour?
Yeah.
That's unanimous. Thank you. Get on that. Membership of the Town Council's Floral Working Group, Appendix I. Councillor Clough, I believe. Yep, Councillor Clough.
It was pointed out by the clerk that when we did the memberships of the groups, we didn't, as last year, we did not suggest that we had a member of Oakham Bloom to work on the working party with us. Do we wish to do that this year?
Well, I'll move from the chair that we write to the Oakham in Bloom and ask them to send a nominee. So that's proposed. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Lowe. Anybody want to comment on it before we? No? All those in favour? That's unanimous, thank you.
no, it's not.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. It's fine.
Did I miss you? Oh, oh, sorry, indeed.
No,
It was the waving of the pen. I thought you were voting your pen.
no.
You were abstaining? Again. All right, sorry, big pardon. One again.
It's not personal, it's democracy. Okay.
We're going to write a letter to Item 19, Appendix J, is new highways and transport request for service. Councillor Walters.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. Yes, there is no request actually from those ward members in regard to inappropriate cycling on footpaths or roads. The report as submitted is erroneous. The ward members for Clydesdale were actually concerned with speeding on their estate, speeding on Land's End Way, and difficulty getting out of the junctions onto Land's End Way. Therefore, that leaves us, I suppose, two questions. If this was correct, then is there sufficient information on there for us to make any comment anyway? Would we perhaps like to comment to Oakham County Council that this is not the appropriate fashion to request consultation from us? And secondly, given that it's regarding speeding, as far as Oakham is concerned, it's 1/2 Land's End Way. Do we wish to discuss that, or do we wish to say that
That's about bicycles, isn't it?
yes,
Speeding, but there is another
There
one
is.
out there for speeding, yes.
no, speeding is what this referral was.
Oh.
Someone used to drop down menu wrong and click the wrong button.
Right. I must admit, I'm with you on this because this just gives. We had this before with
We've had another one in as well.
the volunteer crossing, I think a couple of months ago, meetings ago, and it is very scant on detail and position. So, do we write back to them and say that we would love to comment on this, but A, we think that the footnote is wrong, and we think we'd really like a lot more detail with these proposals that they come forward with.
If I may come back,
Yeah.
I think you're right in terms of the information. It's inadequate, and I would propose as part of whatever the overall proposal is that we write to them saying that this is insufficient information for us to make any judgment whatsoever. But secondly, then, do we actually discuss the speeding issue? Is anyone aware of it? Normally, the only complaints I get are about parked HGVs at Jackson's and all being slowed down. But that's just what I hear.
Can I just shed some light on the process? Because I also rang about this and the speeding one. And my understanding is that they recently put up a new methodology where the ideas are submitted by web, on the web. And I think this, and when I spoke, they told me that they were issuing these based on that web experience and the forms, and that in the past, of course, we had a much more comprehensive document which was completed and therefore was avoided this kind of thing. So I think going back to them and saying more detail, and can you please vet them before you send them out, would be a thoroughly good idea, because if the websites, if they go to adopt a policy, which is what I understand they're doing, that they just circulate to interested parties as soon as they get something through, then this is the kind of thing which you might expect. So I endorse everything that Alan has said.
So the next one don't put on the agenda then, until we go back.
So we've got another one coming up on the next agenda.
Is
So
that speeding?
I don't know till I don't know.
but I think there's confusion here because Alan seems to think that this is the speeding, but they've used the wrong drop-down box for the.
Except I had an email about speeding and an email about this.
Oh right. Okay.
So
The word, I did not go off piste. Speaking as a county councillor, a fellow county councillor, they advised me that their report was regarding speeding and exiting from the estate onto Land's End Way.
Right.
So
Okay.
it is simply a wrong document, as well as insufficient information, even if it was the right
I think
document.
that's yes.
Okay. Right. Let's have a proposal because
I'd like to propose that we go back to RCC and say exactly that we need more information, and that perhaps a bit more care might be necessary in taking and sending us these documents. Certainly more information is required.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Clough. All those in favour? That's 9. Oh, sorry.
yeah, that's right.
You're a bit late. You're a bit late there for me.
That's unanimous.
That's unanimous, yes.
Systems are
Right.
It's all good.
Item 20 is planning. We're going to do number 3 first because we have a gentleman that wants to make a deputation. That's okay.
Cool.
Single story roof.
So the first one we're going to deal with is 2019-0778 full single story extension 9 South Street.
And you come out the back.
Yes.
And then
I think what we also need to do at some point is look at being able to turn these lights off when we're doing this.
Like in the cinema.
Yeah, so we can.
Or do you want to do it now?
Dig down and.
Well, I just get later next to have a look at the remote control switch. Yeah, I think it might just.
Are there two switches there?
That's a bit. So what we'll do, we'll have a quick look at the plans first. Then I'm going to ask the gentleman to make his deputation, and then we'll discuss it, and he'll have the opportunity to come back before we have our vote. So that's the plot, floor plan. You can just enlarge that for us, Alison, please. That's quite a big extension of the house, isn't it? Yeah.
Which planning application we're looking at?
Third, 2019-0778.
Okay.
Mrs. Dean. What else we got?
That's it. Just neighbours.
Comments.
Neither objection or supporting.
Yeah, it's spelling right for the case officer, because that's the neutral, isn't it?
She's been notified, yeah.
Right, so it's just, you can put the floor plan up again for us, please. Right, there we go. So would you like to make your deputation? You have 3 minutes, and then if we've got any questions, we'll pin you down.
Thank you, Chairman. It'd be useful to put that plan
back up again.
Which one?
The street plan.
The street plan. Yeah, the location.
Yep, that's fine.
Because what we're looking, as you rightly say, at this piece here. I'm here representing the Rutland Local History and Record Society, and our interest is an archaeological one. I have written on behalf of the Society to the County Planning Authority and also to the Leicester County Council Planning Archaeologists. Our point really is that although it's a very small development, and the bit that you're looking at is just an extra bit on the back of that property, it does entail digging foundation trenches. It's an archaeologically very sensitive area. Unfortunately, when these garages were demolished and the new house was put up there wasn't an archaeological investigation because it slipped through the net somehow. I have a copy for the Town Council of the letter that I sent with the attached plans, one of which is open in 1787 and the other is the first edition of the 25-inch OS map. What those show is that the probable medieval town boundary was a ditch that would have gone along here somewhere and up like that. So this area is just outside that medieval town ditch area, and we have very little information. So even a keyhole into the past, as this very small foundation trench, could produce some archaeological evidence. And if this council is minded to recommend approval of that application, what we would ask is that you would also comment that an archaeological condition should be attached to any condition that was granted. So if there is a question to answer it, so perhaps I'll just pass the letter around with the maps on it.
Councillor Ainsley, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, if there were to be an archaeological survey, what sort of delay might that put on the project and what sort of work are you envisaging?
This, normally for a small site like this, you would do a desktop study, which means identifying any evidence, and you might look at this 1787 map and say that's the evidence. And then when the construction was underway, what you would normally expect is not archaeological excavation but a watching brief. So you're not holding anybody up. You have an archaeologist on site that you pay for, and they watch the work that's going on.
When you say they, an archaeologist that they pay for, who would pay for?
The developer has to pay for it.
Councillor Denny, you want to ask a question?
Well, only that I've been through an architect because I lived in a Grade 2 listed cottage, and when we did foundations we had to have an archaeology dig. It was very interesting actually, so I appreciate the request that you're making, because once it's built on, you've lost totally that opportunity to do it.
I mean, there have been so many developments since the end of the 18th century there, that a lot of the evidence has disappeared. There are very, very few opportunities now in that area to have a look at the medical history of the town.
Okay. Councillor Rogers?
Just refresh my mind, I'm a bit slow. You're saying that was outside the boundary of the town?
Yes.
That all this development has taken place since?
Yes.
So are you absolutely sure it's reasonable and appropriate?
I think so, because although you've got the boundary of the medieval town, that doesn't mean to say that nobody was doing anything outside that boundary. And also further along South Street, over here somewhere, there was actually an Anglo-Saxon Gruben house, which is a sort of semi-subterranean dwelling, which was identified as on a development there, and that predates the medieval town. So you could find something of any date, but it is a great big gap. And we just don't know exactly where the town ditch went. I could be wrong, it might be down here anyway.
Councillor Lowe?
I mean, I love a bit of archaeological work myself, but I think given that it's been explained that it's potentially outside of where the original boundary was, the fact that if this council makes a comment that could incur a cost for the resident on best guesswork, I think would be inappropriate. So whereas I would say that I would support archaeological work is done, if the county council choose to do that, it should not be at the cost of the people that live there, because it's outside of the historic records. That would be my swing. So I support the idea, but I think anything we say could impact somebody that lives there, and we know how much it costs to have archaeological work. Was it £300 a day or something? In theory, it'd probably be a day's work, but that's my observation.
Councillor Woodley, do you have a question, or do you want to
Just a comment. Yeah.
Look, right, there's no more questions. We'll debate it now, and then we'll have our vote, if that's, and then we'll come back to you. Okay, Councillor Woodley.
Yeah, my prime concern with this proposal is around that property is an amazing hedge, and we all know it if you walk past it. So, and based on the non-objection, but non-support statement from the neighbour about right of way, this proposal doesn't have any documentary evidence about the approach they're going to take to the development and how they're going to make access facilities. And I think that it's a bit open at the moment. We're being asked to approve the end result, and I know it's not a material planning consideration, the process of the development, but I think we should make comment that the neighbours should be respected and, if possible, maintain the environment that's used by the birds heavily in that head, if at all possible. So I'd like some commentary.
Hold on to that thought for a minute. Councillor Buxton?
Yeah, I'd like to support the scheme. If it is true that there is a big gap in the knowledge in that particular area, and there's going to be limited opportunities to find out about it later on, for those reasons I'd like to support it. And I also support Councillor Wright's comments on it.
Okay. Councillor Clough?
Just to follow up on Councillor Woodley's comments, the hedge all along the road edge is surviving, because I understand that the hedge that ran between this property and where the garages were has already been removed by the developers as part of that development. And I gather there also is controversy over the boundaries there. But the right of way for numbers 5 and 7 go through that space into the garden and out of their front gate, so it won't be impacted at all by the new development.
Okay.
It's only moving it out by about
Yeah.
3 feet, isn't it, or something?
That's the access point
Yes.
for the development. So how does it not impact the development, their right of way?
There's another plan in there that shows you the bit they're extending and shows where
I know what you're saying.
there's a walkway
We
along
can't
the
object to
yeah.
the proposal based on the way they develop. My comment being be mindful and respectful
Yes.
to these issues, not that I'm objecting to the scheme, because I'm not.
Councillor Walters?
It wasn't the previous slide, and we were looking at the top half of it. I could be completely wrong.
That's it.
The previous
No,
slide.
Oh, the previous one.
The block plan.
The block plan. Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Just shows the extension.
Just shows it, yeah.
Where's the access?
Both sides.
Sorry, what did you say? That's a sign.
Number 9, the gate
Yeah.
is on the side of number 9. That's the access point I'm referring to. It's not an objection to the plan. It's a comment I would like noted that we respect the access right of way through the development, and also that the hedge, if possible, and the wildlife are protected. And I think they're valid comments, but not an objection.
Okay, well, that's going to form part of our proposal. Clark's busy writing. So no, keep saying.
Just a laugh.
Okay. So that's part of Councillor Walters. Can I have a proposal from you then, please?
Well,
You put your hand up, that's it.
no. I thought actually that Councillor almost had made a proposal. My comment really was that yes, I appreciate the public's observations, but with all the opportunities we've had over all of the years for all of the developments in this area to pick on one tiny little extension and say, oh, we need an archaeological coverage of this one is completely inappropriate, although I appreciate the sentiment. My proposal would be simply to recommend approval of the scheme, but taking on board the comments of Councillor Woodley, and I don't think anyone else actually commented in particular.
Okay, everybody clear what we're voting on? So that's been proposed. Do I have a seconder for that we approve with the addition of Councillor Woodley's respect for the neighbours and the hedge? Councillor Lomas is.
How do I wish to make an amendment to the proposal that I would approve of the archaeological exploration?
That'll be a separate proposal. If this falls, then you can. Unless you
would be an amendment now.
Yeah, you can move. Yeah, if you want to move an amendment, and then we'll take the amendment first.
Yes.
So you want to make an amendment that we approve, we give approval with the archaeological.
And yes, it is a small keyhole, but if planning had been keeping an eye on the ball, this would have been done when the building in the back was being done, and they, do we lose all opportunities?
Okay, right.
I think the amendment, I think I'm on the same page as Councillor Clough here.
Yeah.
The proposal we got at the minute is with the slight addition that the occupier, the developer, is made aware that there is an interested party that would be like to do an archaeological exploration, but not at the cost of the developer or the homeowner. I would go for that. So in other words, would they be mindful and give that some courtesies? Well, no, it was
more of a clarification.
So in other words, extend the courtesy to County Council that if it goes ahead, would the developer extend courtesy to a third party coming in and looking in their trench, basically, but not at their own expense, not at the expense of the developer or the homeowner. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say. We're trying to cover all the bases for everybody there, aren't we? Really?
I would say I would oppose that on the grounds that I think the developer should pay enough to be an archaeological look in the trench. That's what I believe.
Right. So the amendment is that we approve give with approval with the neighbours of respect and right of way, etc., and with an archaeological condition on it. Yeah. All those in favour of that, please show. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those against? 1, 2, 3. Abstaining?
I'm going to abstain after all.
2. So that is passed. So that is the proposal.
Down to RCC now.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's that one done. So we'll go on to, we'll go back to the beginning.
Tony Robinson, didn't he? What are you saying?
2019-0473 stays, change of use of internal floor space from A1 to A3 to High Street.
What's the building? Is that the corner of the Mill Street?
Where they're looking for a shed.
What was Westmoreland's?
So it's going from retail to cafe.
Yes,
Yeah.
Because they're opening in August, so you need to hurry up a bit.
It'll be retrospective, won't it?
Well,
change of use, Chairman, while whatever's coming out, all we're going to have there is letters anyway.
I know, I'm just thinking which one.
I mean, to a certain extent, the main thing is that I know there's a lot of cafes and chefs on the high street, but at least it's going to get used, so I would propose that we accept the change of use.
Seconded by Councillor Wadsworth. Are you voting? Was you voting?
I was actually going to ask a question. So I have no idea what an A1, A3 is.
I think A1's retail and A3 is food.
Catering.
That's right.
So it's changed from retail to catering.
Yeah.
So if they fail, that's their own business.
Yeah.
So it's been proposed and seconded that we approve the change of use. All those in favour? 9. Against? Abstaining 1. Thank you. Right, 1907-62 PG&J Howley, replace existing conservatory with single-storey mono-pitch roof rear extension, 18th close.
Footprint hasn't changed, has it? No.
Just the time.
Replace existing with a single-storey. Yeah, so they're doing away with the conservatory and putting a permanent building there, aren't they?
With a better roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody comment? Anybody?
I would together. I mean, it's to me, it's a bit of a straightforward one for me. So I've no objections on planning consideration. So I don't think there's any objections from neighbours. So I propose that the council have no reason to object and would support it.
Secondly, all those in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. Councillor Walton, could you put the lights back on? Found a job for you. Right, we're going to move now back to...
Who seconded Councillor Walton?
I'm there. Which one was 12. 12. So we're going to go back to item 12. So I move to decide whether to exclude the press and public during consideration of item 12 on the agenda under section 102 of the Local Government Act 1972 as amended due to the contractual nature or the matter to be discussed. I move. Seconded by Councillor Woodley. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you to the clerk for giving us all.
You're welcome. Do members want to have a 5 minute for a break? Rock on then.
Who seconded that? Who seconded that? David. Sally Ann.
No, you seconded the exemption.